Thank you, Senator Padilla. I'd like to open by thanking Chairman Durbin for his 2 decades of tireless effort to focus our attention on dreamers, on those who've been brought here by their parents when they were children and who've contributed to our society over decades. There are literally millions of undocumented people who are working here, living here, paying taxes, serving in our military, or in the case of 2 of our witnesses today, as frontline essential workers who have contributed to saving lives in this pandemic. None of these people should have to live in the shadows of the only home they have ever known. It was in 2018 that I was honored to partner with the late Senator John McCain in introducing and advancing the Uniting and Securing America Act, which was a bipartisan proposal to pair the DREAM Act with common sense border security measures. And while that got just 52 votes on the floor of the Senate, I'm happy to be continuing conversations across the aisle now with Chair Durbin and Senators Graham and Cornyn, Tillis and others in an attempt to try and find some compromise that can address these issues that have challenged us for decades. And while all of us have the ability to give stem winders and soliloquies to grow our viewers and supporters by attacking each other, I think our real challenge is to try and solve this problem. What I hear in Delaware and what I've heard across the country is that Americans would like us to actually solve the problem rather than swing wildly back and forth from one administration to the next in our tone, tenor, and actions with regards to immigration. I want to thank the witnesses today for sharing your relevant and inspiring perspectives, the challenges you've faced, or the work that you've done, or the service you're currently providing. And for those who are essential workers who testified today, I just want to thank you for being on the front lines of both advocating for TPS and Dreamers, but providing life-saving support for Americans with COVID-19. Dr. Mia, if I might, I think it's important for folks watching to recognize the impact on your life of having an uncertain status, of lacking a permanent legal status here. You have 2 younger siblings who were born citizens, so you've got a personal experience around this, yet you continue to persist and engage and advance. And I'm so grateful to Loyola for providing you the opportunity at a medical education, and hopeful that your residency will soon conclude and lead to your position as a physician in Oak Lawn. Delaware State University, in my own home state, offers opportunity scholarships that Don Graham funded. More than 150 Dreamers have now attended and graduated from Delaware State University, including one, Indra Islis, who I got to know, who is also interested in following your footsteps as a medical professional. So in Delaware, we've seen the same sorts of things. I've heard from her, but I'd like to hear from you. What was the impact on your life of having uncertainty as you grew up and as you pursued your dream of becoming an emergency medical room physician?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Senator. So throughout my career, from, like I mentioned earlier, from the very beginning of me trying to attempt to get a driver's permit, that's when I first started noticing these barriers, and they were only more evident after that. From me applying to colleges, to me later on trying to see if I could even go to medical school, there was barrier after barrier. But somehow, whether it was the timeline of President Obama's DACA memorandum or my innate resiliency, somehow I found ways to overcome these barriers, and that's led to my success as an ER doctor, and will continue to lead to my success. There's no doubt that I've faced many barriers, and I will continue to face barriers, but as long as I'm given the opportunity to reapply for DACA every 2 years, I will continue to do so, because that just takes one thing away. It gives a little bit of security, although temporary. It does give a little bit of security to my career and everything I've faced.
Well, both you and Mr. Poncieux, who served as a nurse in a critically necessary role in an important hospital, have no permanent status, and that uncertainty, I think, must impact your service in your communities. I was proud to reintroduce this year, along with Senators Cornyn and Young and Collins, Leahy, and Durbin, the Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act to recapture 25,000 visas for nurses, 15,000 for doctors to help in the fight against COVID. Mr. Poncieux, could you also speak to the impact uncertainty has had on your career and what you've seen in terms of staffing shortages at the hospital where you serve, and what impact it might have if we were to provide some certainty and a path forward for medical professionals like nurses.
Yes, like I said earlier, as a healthcare provider, I've been facing death every day because of the COVID-19. And every day I go to work and I think that I have a responsibility to take care of patients to save lives. And it is my goal to save as many as possible. And with my temporary status, I always think that I'm limited, I cannot go further. But now, if the Senate want to vote to give their yes, I will be able not only to continue to work to help more patients, to save more lives, but I will be able to continue to pay taxes and to take care of my family. And this is what we want. We only want a chance. In 2006, I've been given a chance to go to school. I have financial aid, and I went to Sheridan Technical Center, where I get my practical nurse license. And since then, I was able to work. And after that, when I went to college, I was able to pay the tuition from my pocket because the school didn't have financial aid. So the same way I want the Senate to give those 200,000 people a chance to have a higher education and to continue to work to take care of their family and to stay in the United States.
Thank you. Thank you both for your testimony, and thank you to all the witnesses for participating in today's hearing.